we created the right elevation for this little cottage. This is the left elevation. This is a section through the building around near the stairs. You can see the stairs right there. And we can see that door going into the private quarters, the kitchen cabinet, and the kitchen counter. So we have two elevations, the front, left. We drew the right. And I've tweaked it a little bit. I tweaked the way this looks. We're going to see a 12-inch beam there. This is what holds up the deck. I also needed to add a column here. Or I called it column last time. This is actually a pier holding up the column. Because we have a half column here that's mostly decorative. We're going to have also a pier holding it up like that. So we're going to see one's half the size of this one. This is a 16-inch pier. This one's going to be an 8-inch pier that holds the deck up. So I fixed that a little bit. So we're going to see sort of the structure of the roof, the plywood, and this is a combination of the plywood and whatever the roofing material is, and this is the beam that holds it all up. It rests on this 12-inch beam that goes across the front, it makes a turn all the way around, and then it makes a return back here into the house. Probably in this triangular space right here, we're going to see some horizontal siding or some vertical siding of some kind. And we can see that in the section. Right, so let's draw the rear elevation. The rear elevation, it's going to be very, very similar to the front elevation, obviously. We can almost take this and mirror it and start from there. We see that in the back. Oh, first we got to have, where's the floor plan? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to rotate it so that the rear of the building is facing down. And I'm going to align it with the building. We know the window is in the center, and we know the peak is in the center. So if I put the center on the window, on top of the peak, we know everything lines up. What happens here, though, since there's no deck around the back, that means the roof of the deck actually stops here. So I'm going to extend the edge of the building down, and I'm going to trim all of the roof right here. And I'm going to turn this, I'm going to actually delete the siding, which we can add later. This line, because like I said, there's no roof in the back, it doesn't exist, because basically the roof just terminates at the side before the end. This is the corner of the building, the roof, or the structure that holds the roof up probably ends. Let's turn this guy off. The roof terminates some nice round number, 8 inches for the end of the house. And chances are the overhang will come to the end of the house. So where were we? I'm also going to turn all this off so I can copy that easily from the other side. There is, when we look at the first floor, there's only one window in the middle. It's down low, so we don't have all these columns. Of course, we don't have the two front windows and the front door. We don't have the steps. And we don't have a deck. And I'm going to turn this off, or erase it actually. And the rails actually stop at the edge of the house. Wrong edge. I'm being cautious here because I don't want to trim the floor. Actually, I can trim it here. So that's the floor inside. We discussed that earlier. That it's a hidden element, or we use a hidden line because it's a hidden element that doesn't appear or is not visible to us, but we know it's there. I'm going to trim it right here also. And this is also a floor upstairs in the section they gave us because they started this project for us. Eventually we'll have to be smart enough to figure out, but in the section they gave us, there's a little loft, attic loft right there. And if we copy this line here, we'll see that, well, I was guessing that would be at the same height of this floor. That was my guess. And maybe I have the wrong line in the section. But let's continue. We'll figure that out later. I'm also going to erase this here. Now, what's happening at the deck? So at the end of the deck, there's a column, and we turn back into the house. I'm going to erase this. And it actually turns back into another half column. We discussed the half column earlier in the previous video. This is a full column that's 8 by 8. And so this is a half column that's going to be 4 by 8. 4 inches by 8 inches. But what happens here, because we borrowed we mirror the front elevation, then in the front elevation we see the half column, but its head is behind the rail. So we're talking about this column way in the back. We see it from the front if we stand here, but half of it is obscured by the rail. And so that's why when we mirror it here, it stops at the rail. But when we stand in the back, looking from here, looking up, we're going to see the half column all the way down. So we got to fix that. And basically, that's an easy fix. It matches all the properties of the column right in front of it. And I'm just going to delete this line because it's a polyline and copy this one and copy the bottom of it. And let's see what happens. So it goes from the middle of this, because it's a full column, to the end of this. And there it is. So the rail actually stops at the half column. So I'll need to trim this. This is the column itself, the top and the top cap, the bottom of the column. And so that's what that looks like. Just like in the front elevation, what we just did, we had half a column here, or half a pier. We're going to have half a pier on that side as well. I'm just going to copy this perpendicular to the edge of the building, and I'm going to mirror it about the edge of the building. And that's where my pier. Let's see if we can do this. Extend. It will extend a little further. And then the offset of there's going to be some trim, some lattice, or something happening under the deck. These guys use polylines everywhere, so there. Everything else gets trimmed to the edge of the building. And I'm going to trim. Boy, I'm getting every kind of message today. Also, let's fix this, because I mirror that. It's on the other side. I forgot to erase the original. So that's going to be here. Elevation, and then we kind of start around the clock. Front is 1, right is 2, rear is 3, and left is 4. Maybe. Yeah, left is 4. So That means this would be elevation number 3, rear elevation. What else did we do here? We offset, just to give a little contrast, we offset at the bottom of this line where the trim ends, just to give it a little bit of a break. We offset it by 1 inch. So we went 1 inch. I'm going to extend this all the way out, and I'm going to trim this. It's a nice little detail that will show up in the drawings, that you could just do a straight line. It will still be built right, but it just gives the drawing a little bit of character. They would say, I would say. So there's that. So I assumed in the earlier drawing that this right here would not be piers, that it would be a foundation wall, solid. So I'm going to assume it's the same thing in the back. And the same thing behind the deck here, all the way to the front of the house. And that basically finishes this elevation. This is the ceiling and structure beyond. I'm gonna leave that because that actually may or may not show up in the hidden. So these are hidden elements that help us to draw the building. This is the top plate. I'm gonna mirror it and put it back. I suspect that's a double 2x4 or 2x6. Yep, 2 of them. I say 2x6, but they're 5.5 inches and by 3 inches. So there's 2 1.5 inches by 5.5 pieces of wood there. But because in the olden days they used to be made at 2 and 6 inches, now they're at 1.5 and 5.5. They're still called 2x6s. 2x4s are 3.5 by 1.5, and some crazy stuff that just carried over. So that's basically outside of the hatch, outside of the siding hatch, that type right there, and the hatch for the lattice here, and the hatch for the rails. That's how you draw the rear elevation. This concludes how to draw an elevation. Thank you.